So I'm sitting with two broken motorbike riders. Is that an unfair comment? Ken Reid, Jason Stewart, slightly battered. You're like a sav.
Yeah. I've probably got a bit on him at the moment. I'm a bit further more advanced, closer to riding again, but no, that'd be a pretty fair assumption.
So this would be on your left as I look at the screen, wearing his black STE racing shirt, is Jason Stewart, aka Stewballz. To the right is Mr. Hattah, the king of Hattah himself, Ken Reid. Now, both of you guys share a couple of passions. Proud Sunraysia men, live and breathe on two wheels. Both have experienced hospital cheese sandwiches quite a bit in the last 12 months.
And jelly.
Yes.
Yeah.
And the kindness of medical staff here and beyond. In fact, you spent a fair bit of time in Melbourne, Kenny, didn't you?
Yeah, I was down there for a month.
A month?
Yeah, a month. 9 days in ICU, and then 6 in a induced coma, twice. So, yeah, not something I want to go back to in a hurry.
No. And Stewballz, how long were you?
Well, I wasn't to that extreme in the brain. I had a bleed on the brain. I had a crash at about the 1:30 mark on the Think track the week before the race. Don't remember it. Don't remember the whole day. Don't literally remember nearly the whole week. And not even sure how I crashed. But anyway, I've literally gone arse over it in the whoops. Shattered me.
Which you're still
arm.
carrying.
Yep. Broken in 4 or 5 places. Got almost between 30 and 40 screws and plates holding my arm together, and a new elbow. So it was a pretty big deal. I was stuck down the Think track till 1 or 2 o'clock in the afternoon, and then they got me back to town, and then the bleed of the brain delayed surgery for a day or two, and then we had 8-hour surgery putting my arm back together. But I tell you, I'm actually really good compared to when I first come out post-op. Like day 4. It was pretty bad. It was literally I don't know what the word is. They were expecting me to have a claw hand because all the nerve damage. So that was a bit of a shock straight away. And but what is it now? 6 months later, I've got pretty good use of my arm. That's I can straight it to there.
Almost dab.
I can't touch my face.
Okay.
But the claw hand, those fingers work really good.
Okay.
These two, you could probably nearly amputate them and it would be better.
You're Barry Briggs.
Yeah. And the brain, honestly, it took a few months. I've had a couple of really good bleeds in the brain since I was probably 16, and I've probably had a dozen or more concussions. So the brain this time round really took a bit to get over. It probably took a good 4 or 5 months before, I was really onto a few things, and I still struggle a bit now, to be honest.
Yeah.
But not to the level that Kenny was.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I've crashed a lot. I've broke a lot over the years. There's not too many tracks I've been to in Australia where I haven't somersaulted, but this one really knocked the piss out of me. Dad was there, Geordie were there.
Yeah.
It was, from all reports, it was pretty bad on the track that day. They didn't know whether I was bloody
coming or going,
or dead or whatever. Lucky there was a doctor that was also down on the track. He was with another mob that were pre-running, and so he rendered a lot of assistance. And it was just, I don't know, it's literally changed my life a lot, because I always pictured myself riding for a long time, doing everything from bloody riding speedo bike to Think and drag racing or whatever. But this is different, and I'll probably never ride Think again. I'll never ride Hattah. I'll never do those sort of events. All the metal in my arm and the new elbow plate is there for life. So even literally if I fell off now, it would just shatter the arm again. 30 years ago, they probably would have just cut it off. So, I don't know. Yeah, it's just been a bloody funny old time. And, I got back on the Harley for the first time a few weeks ago, which was all right. I can sort of get around on that, not too bad. And yeah, but yeah, I don't know. I was pretty lucky. You know, Reedy, his accident was a lot worse for sure. But
I was I was lucky but unlucky in the sense that it was the third time. So it's a loop that I've done, and Stewie's ridden it plenty of times. We've probably been down there 100 times. I reckon I've graded it probably 150 times. So I knew where I was going. I was on my third pass through. It was 11:30 in the morning, thereabouts. So there shouldn't have been anything. It was 35 degrees. So there shouldn't have been anything there. Third pass through back to the car. Ambo's estimated I was doing 120, and I reckon they've been a bit generous. I'll say 100. From nowhere, allegedly, a kangaroo took me out. Straight off the bike, unconscious, came to, and this is where my story is a little different to Jace's, and I really want to drive this home. I didn't think of it at the time because I took it for granted. I've been there heaps of times.
Yep.
So I was riding by myself. So I had no one to help me. So I got up at some point trying to pick the bike up. I couldn't pick it up. I don't know where I was going to go because I was fairly heavily concussed. Someone said, "Oh, did you have your phone?" I don't know what I was going to do if I had a phone because I wouldn't have known how to ring anybody. I didn't even know I had a backpack on. So I sat there for about probably 10 minutes, I reckon. And then I thought, I can't stay here. No one will find me. I've got to get to the road. So I staggered through the fence and over the railway line and out the other side, which is, you know, it's pretty quick, but it was, I don't know, 150 odd metres. And when you got fractured pelvis to both sides, 14 broken ribs, 2 punctured lungs, and 3 tendons on my shoulder that were torn off the bone, it was a big ask. Anyway, if I didn't do it, I was going to die. It was as simple as that. I was going to bleed out. So I got out, sat on the side of the road, and the car stopped, which was a lady from Oyen, and she asked me where my bike was. I said, I don't know. She asked me where I come from. I said, I don't know. She said, just lay there. Anyway, they got some help out, and they put the thing on the chest and said, he hasn't got a sore shoulder, he can't breathe. So they dispatched another mica from Mildura, and that took 19 minutes to get there, and I was estimated there was only 30 minutes in the tank. So it was a close call, very close call. Could have went either way.
I literally, a couple of days later, I ran into one of the paramedics. At the coffee shop, and I was talking to him, but he told me straight out, he said, if we were 45 minutes longer, he wouldn't be here. So you're pretty close.
So the point being, if I had been down closer, because we quite often ride down to the Hattah store and fuel up and then ride back. Now, if I was halfway between there and the Hattah store, that's a long way, and with no one there, it was okay. I got to the road, but if I had been with Jace or Dawsey or someone like that, would have been a lot quicker to get somebody there. So that's the point I really want to emphasise. Mum and Dad, the Christmas break's coming up. They don't need to be in an ICU or in a hospital with a broken child. So the message is the Christmas message, or it's a message all year. Just be bloody careful. Tell someone where you are. Let them know. Give them some times, and just be super careful over this period, you know, whether you're water skiing or motorbike riding or whatever you're doing, mountain bike riding, it can happen anywhere.
So the worst, you know, when we go for a ride, we all know going by yourself, it's just not right, you know, blah, blah, blah. But at the same token, it's sometimes the best, you know, I would quite often, up until this year, I would literally leave Lee Adams's house at 8 o'clock in the morning. I'd go to Hattah, out the Rock Plains, back through. I'd do 190 k's, and I'd be back at Lee's by 10 o'clock. And I've done a big pre-run, a big ride, you know, and you just think you're invincible. And you know, it was good. You're training, you've got your brain fresh, the whole lot, but I don't know, until something happens, you don't realise it. And
No.
when you're young, like any young bloke, you're indestructible.
Yeah,
and,
bulletproof.
you know, there's no one coming over that hill. You're just out here by yourself. The reality is there's bloody four-wheel drives, there's people everywhere. Kangaroos, you know, kangaroos are a big thing.
Goats is a big thing.
Goats, you know, you can't do it. Even now, well, not now because I'm not riding, but, you know, I've always, since mobile phones have been around, if I was ever going for a ride, I would always text Donna, just leaving,
Yep.
just got the Hattah, always. You know, you can ask her that if I'm ever going pre-running at Fink,
Yep.
just, hey baby, hitting the track, back to town, all safe. And
Yeah.
when I crashed that day, she knew, because when I've texted that morning, you know, Donna's been around a long time with it all. She knows we're going down and back at Fink. Should be back at 3:30, 4 o'clock. When she's getting a phone call at 12 o'clock, that's all of a sudden,
Yeah.
oh, what's going on?
Yeah, something's happened.
So, yeah, I know, getting off the beaten track a bit at the moment, but communication is key. No matter what you're doing, you got to communicate. And, you know, where we go riding around here, it is actually dangerous. You know, all the tracks, all the sunset tracks, all that type of stuff, you think you're out there by yourself. It's pretty populated these days. The wildlife, you know, it's, you can't be too careful, you know.
And there's no, unlike Alice Springs, there's no set,
Direction.
like, ride down till lunchtime, ride back after lunch. You just, you know, and we've spoke about this with heaps of people. There's a single trail that goes from Redcliffs to Oyen, but no one ever rides one way to a time and back to a time.
Yep.
And you quite often see someone. The only good thing about it is sometimes when it's dusty, I never ride. So here's one thing I don't do. I very, very rarely ever ride when it's wet because I can't see dust. So I will always ride when it's dusty, because most of the riding we do up here is in the dust anyway, except for Hattah. Hattah's probably had more wet than dust. But
There's also, I vividly remember riding in Lancelin in the sand dunes in Western Australia. I went up there, caught up some friends. I left separately and left late, and I just took my bike off the trailer and just thought I'll just throw my helmet on and just ride up the top of the dunes and see where the rest of the boys are first. Didn't put any of my gear on, just my helmet. Got to the top, it was a razorback sand dune, and I flipped over the other side, ended up with the bike halfway down the hill and me at the bottom of it. Ended up in hospital with suspected spinal. So even just a quick little idea of putting all your gear on, which sounds really simple, it's super hot around here, right? 40, almost 40 degrees today. So I might just wear just my Guernsey, or don't worry about the armour, or won't throw the gloves on, or those sort of things. So there's a lot to consider. And this is not about, oh, it's so dangerous, don't do it, right? This message today is not about that. It's about letting someone know and not riding by yourself, Kenny. Because you could have died because no one was around.
no one was around. You know, like, and that's why, well, I've never ridden in the sunset on my own anyway. Never do. Never have. But I was still only 150 metres from the road, and I've often said, it's all right, I'd always get to the edge of the road.
Yeah.
But I'll tell you what, it took all my inner strength to get to the edge of the road, and I wasn't that far. Not really.
Yeah, right.
But, you know, knocked unconscious. It's pretty, it doesn't matter how close to the road you are.
And both of you boys have had thousands and thousands and thousands of hours on a motorcycle. Right? We're not talking about kids that got their Pee-wee or their 80cc for Christmas and went out in the bush by themselves.
No, definitely not.
You know, the last however many years regularly, you know, I would probably, leading up to Fink, I'd have to say I'd probably do more bike time, kilometre-wise and hour-wise, than probably anyone in the district.
Yeah.
You know, with the riding that I would do out the sunset, you know, from February through to June, and, you know, it can catch you. And, I mean, plus I'm no spring chicken anymore either. You don't bounce anymore, you just go splat. So, you know.
It hurts.
And it's funny because I can remember sitting next to Reedy now. I can remember Reedy being 38. So how many years ago is that?
20 years.
20 odd years.
21 years ago.
And I can remember, for some reason, it was Hattah entry, and Kenny talking to him, and I must have been, I don't know, bloody 22 or 21 or something, and I remember thinking, 38, friggin' hell, you're old.
Yeah.
You know, and 38's come and gone, and I'm much older than that now, but, you know, Reedy's still riding.
Mm-hmm.
You know, he's had a little bit of a setback this year, but, you know, I'm pretty sure you'll be back next year.
No, that's the plan.
Yeah. And
Right.
So in
What
that
level,
shed,
I don't know.
in that shed there too are some road bikes. This time of the year, Christmas parties, you know, it's not even about you. It's about the other car or the other bike or the bus or, you know, distractions, all that sort of stuff. It's a busy, busy time, even for little old Mildura.
Yeah.
So I think the take-homes today, the reason we're sitting here today is to remind yourself, don't go out on your own. Just don't. Right, that's a starter. Always wear your gear, which sounds like a no-brainer, but it's not. Right? Be careful on the roads. And the thing that I take home what you said, Jace, is the communicate. Because had you texted Donna, let's say you were going out riding, or Kenny, you were going out riding that usual spot out from Lee's, so she knows what time you left and when the last time she should have heard from you, so they can at least trace your steps.
100%. And, you know, I've always drummed that into Geordie. You know, since Geordie's been in a relationship with Courtney and we're going riding, you got to let them know. And I don't know, it's just what I've always done. You know, a regular thing is always get the Hattah. Whenever I've headed out to the sunset, you got to get the Hattah because you got to top up the fuel and then you head out. So, you know, it only takes 25 minutes to get the Hattah, but at least I'm at Hattah, fueled up.
Yeah.
You know, I'll be back in an hour and a half.
Been through the first sector.
Yeah,
Away you go.
And yeah, because it can happen. There's been plenty of people that have not come back.
Even Find My Phone, right? There's even functions now on your phone and things like that that you can consider would be helpful to someone trying to track you, because easy to think that, oh no, I've got a bright orange bike, it's laying there in the scrub. It's not easy when you're talking about hundreds of kilometres worth of riding and stuff like that. So
No, well, they didn't. The funny part, it's not funny, but it is funny. They didn't find my car for 2 days
wow.
because no one knew where it was. And then someone said, "Oh, where's the ute?" And I said, "Oh, bugger if I know." And Frank Ryan said, "I know where he parks." So he went down. He found the ute, and then he couldn't find the keys for an hour and a half because I put the keys in a bush because you can't have them near. You can't have the keys near it because it won't lock. So I stuck and he said I couldn't find the bloody keys for an hour and a half. And anyway, he found them, but the ute was out there for 2 days before someone found it.
It's very topical for people in our region, but it's not unique, right? There's North Queensland, Western Australia, South Australia, Victoria, Tassie, all over the world. The message is to just be safe. Love your motorbike riding. Don't,
Oh yeah,
you know.
absolutely.
I mean, you've always been 6 foot tall and bulletproof, Stewballz.
I don't know about that.
Well, I think you've always believed it because you have to. To ride like you ride, you have to believe it's not going to happen. So I think today, and, you know, big Christmas coming up for everybody. Exciting stuff out at Mildura Motorcycle Club, an epic summer.
Yep, we've
coming
got
up.
some good international riders. It's going to be, like you said, epic. We've had a bloody bit of a slow start with November. Australia-wide, literally a bit of a shortage of riders, and there's a few big meetings happening, and it's been hard to make it all work. But we've got Adam Ellis, Dan Bewley, bloody Jamin's home, Justin's home. Young Patrick Hamilton just come third in the state title 2 weeks ago. So Paddy's looking like going to England next year.
Good.
Dale Woods come home from England.
Yeah, he's done a good job over there.
Improved out of sight. We've got young Fraser Bowes from Adelaide.
Yeah, he's done a good job too.
He's more or less a Mildurian now, and he is flying. We've got a couple other internationals. I can't think who they are at the moment. But
You got
anyway,
Ty Wolfen will be here later in the year, and the Holder boys will be here for the Aussies with Jack defending his title. Massive field for the Warren, for the Monson
field, yeah.
It's just going to be huge. So
Ryan Sedgman and Brenton Kerr have been outstanding. I mean, even emails today from Ryan. With the international riders, we've got to get their insurances and licences, and it's just a lot goes into it. And
speaking of licences, if you're going to practice this year, you got to have a licence, correct? That was the word I saw on the Facebook page for if you're going to come down and have a skid, you need to be showing some.
Which is a 1 day licence.
Yep.
And a Pee-wee kid if you got a little 6-year-old kid who wants to come down to the Pee-wee, it's free of charge. You just got to do the licence online with Hannah or Rochelle. There's plenty of people that can help them do that.
Yeah.
Pee-wees are good at the moment. We've got bloody nearly 20 Pee-wees in the district.
Yeah, good.
You know, we've got a big, another surge of the Waters' kids.
Mm-hmm.
You know, my grandsons are riding.
Yeah,
Ryan Fraser's kids.
Mickey O's little bloke
Mickey
probably
O's
gonna. Yep.
kids are riding. You know, there's all of a sudden we've got bloody Pee-wees everywhere. So
At least we know. In the meantime, this will be you, Stewballz. Merry Christmas to you two lunatics. Be safe, be careful, keep your recovery going, Kenny. I appreciate you suggesting that we do this.
I'm good.
And also, stay hydrated when you're out riding.
Absolutely.
Right, that's another good one that you just mentioned without even meaning to mention it, right?
No,
Take it from a couple of old badasses that sugar honey iced tea can happen, and it does.
and wait till he gets his trophy truck. That's
Oh.
next level.
it'll happen.